As we've seen Meghan Markle put out more and more content connected to her children, whether that's the pregnancy video that made the entire world cringe from secondhand embarrassment.
Looked up, her mouth set in a particular way. Things were getting serious. I said to Meg, my love, you need a push.
With either Archie or Lily, and it needs to happen. They need to prove that those children, Meghan and Harry, are not entitled to privacy in this matter. And their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country.
Did Meghan Markle use a surrogate? That's been something posited literally for well over 3 years when it comes to her firstborn son Archie and even her daughter Lilibet. And many people even wonder, are their children even real?
Something strange is unfolding behind the walls of Buckingham Palace, and it's not the usual royal chatter people scroll past. This feels different, quieter, more controlled, and honestly way more serious than anything that usually leaks out. According to Inside Whispers, senior palace figures have started what's being described as an internal verification review tied to Archie and Lilibet. And for an institution that runs on tradition and structure, this kind of move is almost unheard of. The monarchy doesn't like loose ends, and it definitely doesn't like unanswered questions. Here's the thing, the Crown can deal with headlines, drama, even public backlash, but when it comes to lineage, everything changes. That's where things get tense. Titles can be adjusted, roles can be scaled back, but anything connected to bloodline, that hits a completely different level.
All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the royal family.
Did Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? And were they gullible enough to fall into?
This is absolutely insane that they thought they could get away with it, especially Meghan Markle and Harry. The con of the century, 2 cons of the century in the form of 2 royal children included in the line of succession.
Because for generations, one rule has always stayed locked in. The line of succession must be beyond doubt. So why now? Why even open this door when it's something the palace usually avoids talking about completely? That's where it gets interesting. Sources are saying small inconsistencies started stacking up over time. Nothing loud or obvious, just tiny details that didn't fully match up. We're talking about missing pieces, paperwork that didn't follow the usual royal structure, and processes that looked slightly off compared to standard protocol. On their own, these things might not raise alarms, but when you start connecting them together, that's when it starts forming a pattern. And once that pattern reached senior officials, the palace reportedly didn't wait around. They quietly started looking deeper, beginning with one of the most important documents tied to any royal child, Archie's birth certificate. Now, for most people, that's just basic paperwork. But inside the royal system, that document carries serious weight. It's official proof tied to identity and position within the royal structure. Everything on it is supposed to be precise, locked in, and never questioned. But here's where things took a turn.
No, that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home.
Meghan put on her Instagram feed earlier this week with Archie in the garden. What did you see?
But I had to take my children to Professor Bolstrop, who was the leading expert in the field at that time, at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital it was, and he was going to be investigating. And of course, you know my boys, so you know they're very spirited.
Months after Archie's birth, a quiet update was made. Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was removed from the document. In its place, only the title remained, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. No first name, no surname, just the formal royal styling. And that kind of change, it's not something that just happens casually. Someone has to request it, someone has to approve it, and most importantly, there has to be a clear reason behind it. But when people started looking back at that moment, the explanations didn't line up. Meghan reportedly said the palace made the call while insiders pushed back, suggesting it came from her side. Two completely different versions, with no solid trail to confirm either. One. And that's where the tension builds, because for the palace, not knowing is worse than dealing with public attention. If a key document was adjusted once, it naturally raises another question. Why was it changed at all? And could there be more details that don't fully align? That curiosity didn't stop there. Once officials revisited the certificate, they reportedly went further back, straight to the day Archie was born. And that's when even more small inconsistencies started showing up. Nothing extreme, nothing explosive, just quiet details that didn't fully match the precise step-by-step system the monarchy usually follows without error. Because historically, every royal birth follows a strict pattern: verified timing, official medical confirmation, a palace announcement, and then a carefully controlled public introduction. But this time, people are starting to question whether everything followed that same exact script. But when people started looking closer at Archie's arrival, something felt slightly off. Not dramatically wrong, and just different enough to make people pause. The usual royal sequence didn't seem to play out the way it normally does. Typically, there's a clear order: confirmation first, then announcement, followed by official details. But in this case, the news that Archie had been born hit the public before any formal verification showed up. Hours went by before more information came out, and even then, it felt limited and unclear. There were no detailed hospital steps shared, no confirmed witness statements released, just a short appearance days later.
Whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview.
She has that child in a vice-like grip. And it's, you know, if they were a husband and wife team, there are laws now about coercive control.
Everything she's done has only drawn more speculation and brought the controversies back up about how Meghan and Harry have handled all of this, as well as the rumors that perhaps they used a surrogate for one or both of the children.
Where are the children? Where are Harry and Meghan's kids? And do they honestly exist? Now, I know that that's kind of like a little bit conspiratorial, but you know what? I'm down the rabbit hole now since I've accepted the moon bump story. And if the moon bump story was true and she didn't actually have these pregnancies, then is it possible that she has faked having the kids?
And instead of feeling like a traditional royal presentation, some people described it as more controlled, almost staged rather than ceremonial. Then things got even more confusing when questions around the location started popping up. Early reports pointed to one hospital, but later updates seemed to suggest something different. Behind the scenes, it reportedly became difficult for staff to line up the timeline with the usual royal procedures. And that's important because royal births are normally handled with extreme precision. Midwives, doctors, and senior officials are all involved. Key moments are recorded, signed, and witnessed. Everything is documented step by step because it has to be. But when this timeline was reviewed more closely, there were gaps. Not anything extreme or alarming on the surface, but enough to make people wonder if everything followed the expected structure. Now here's where things shift even more. If Archie's situation raised questions, Lilibet's arrival brought a whole different level of uncertainty. This wasn't just about small details anymore. It was about an entirely different approach. Her birth was announced through Meghan and Harry's team in California. No British medical team, no official palace bulletin, no easel outside. Buckingham Palace, and no direct confirmation from the royal household. Instead, what the public saw was a polished statement and carefully selected photos.
They decide, okay, well, you know, we have to come out and like show the baby in some way, but we're not coming out to the street. The filthy masses are not going to have anything to do with our kid. So then they show up and there's Meghan in her white dress with Harry, and he's holding this completely still baby.
That it just really kind of boggles the mind. I mean, just for titles, for example. So when Archie was first born, they said they didn't want him to have a title. He was going to be a private citizen. I was like, bravo, you understand. He's not going to be a working member of the royal family. He is going to have to live a normal life, get a normal job. That is fantastic. And then it came out later in the Oprah Winfrey interview. Well, they denied him a title and security because he is a mixed race child. And then it was kind of like, and then later later, she kind of backtracked.
For most public figures, that would seem completely normal. But for a child connected to the royal line, that's a major break from long-standing tradition. Usually, royal births are verified by approved medical professionals. Official records are filed immediately, witnesses are noted, and every detail is locked in place. But in this situation, those familiar steps weren't visible in the same way. As people tried to piece the timeline together, more inconsistencies started to show up. Even Meghan's pregnancy appearances became part of the conversation. Some moments, seen through video calls or photos, made the timeline feel hard to track consistently. On their own, those details might not mean much. But when combined with the lack of traditional documentation, they started adding to the overall uncertainty. And what made it even more noticeable was the silence. Buckingham Palace didn't strongly confirm or push back on any of it. They stayed quiet, just observing everything from a distance.
You know, Harry and Meghan they would refuse to kind of show him. They finally kind of showed him off in South Africa, and it was very much, you know, kind of a display, and she went to the polo match, and again, people wondered because it's like, she just didn't, it was a very stiff way she was holding him. It was just looked odd, and you looked at her and compared her to Kate, and you can't help the comparisons. And Kate is playing with baby Louis, and he's, you know, kissing her, trying on sunglasses, and Meghan does not even look at Louis at all, and Louis looking.
But the biggest talking point wasn't even the birth itself. It was what came after, because one key moment is supposed to formally connect a child to the royal system, the christening. And before even getting into that, advisors reportedly had to step back and revisit something much bigger: the rules. Specifically, the legal framework that defines who is officially recognized within the monarchy. That's where the 1917 letters patent came back into focus. A historic document from King George V that clearly outlines who qualifies for royal titles and status. And hidden within that formal language is one major idea. Royal status isn't just symbolic, it has to be clearly verified. To be recognized, certain conditions are expected: a traceable lineage, a birth process that follows established standards, and official ceremonies tied to the Church of England. These aren't just traditions. They're part of the structure that holds everything together. These aren't just old traditions the palace keeps around for show. They're constitutional safeguards built to prevent confusion, disputes, and questions around the throne itself. That's the whole point of the system. It's meant to lock everything down so there's no room for doubt. Most of the time, those steps are simple to follow. Royal births usually happen in the UK under close supervision with witnesses, official records, and immediate filing. Everything is done in a tight, controlled way because the monarchy depends on structure. But with Archie and Lilibet, too much seemed to happen outside that system.
California Birth Index, and per the website at thecaliforniabirthindex.org, the California Birth Index, or CABI, is a database that stores records of births in California for extracts of birth certificates. Putting her full official name of Rachel Meghan Markle, you can see that the official records show.
Even though Meghan had let it be known she wanted a home birth, it was probably very realistic that her first child at 37, it was going to be born in hospital.
So at the time, Archie Mountbatten Windsor was born May 6, 2019. What Meghan and Harry did instead was they did not announce it when Meghan went into labor, for whatever reason. They kept Archie's birth private for over 8 hours. They did not tell people that he was actually born and arrived until 8 hours later. They also issued a confusing press release suggesting Meghan had just gone into labor after Archie had already been born. So they were playing games here with this. And the result was that the media and the public felt misled because they were
A birth outside Britain, no visible royal medical witnesses, unclear timelines, and documents that didn't always appear to line up cleanly. And all of that led to the moment that should have cleared the air. But instead, it opened the biggest question yet: the christening. To most people, a christening sounds like a quiet family event: candles, godparents, photos, blessings, and a special day to remember. But inside the monarchy, it carries way more weight than that. It's not just personal, it's institutional. A royal christening formally connects a child to the Church of England, which is deeply tied to the crown itself. It creates one of the first major spiritual and historical records of that child's place within the royal framework. That's exactly why Meghan and Harry's announcement about Lilibet's christening in California caught attention so fast, because if that ceremony took place in a way that fully matched Church of England authority, there should have been a clear paper trail. A formal entry, official confirmation, registry details, or some sign-off through the proper church. Channels. Even private ceremonies usually leave records behind. But when that issue was reportedly checked more closely, nothing clearly matching Lilibet's name seemed to appear. No obvious entry, no visible signature, no confirmation linked back to the Archbishop's office, and no public sign of a formal acknowledgement. For any child, that would seem unusual. For a child connected to royal status, it becomes a much bigger talking point. Royal christenings are supposed to remove doubt, not add to it. They are normally witnessed, certified, and logged to establish a child's standing in both church and royal tradition. So when no clear records seemed to surface, it created a fresh layer of uncertainty. And that missing piece appears to have pushed Buckingham Palace into a more serious phase. At that point, this reportedly stopped being passive observation and turned into a structured internal review. Not a public investigation, not a dramatic showdown, just a quiet palace file being built behind closed doors. Senior advisors, archivists, constitutional specialists, and church contacts were reportedly brought in.
Of Sussex, no longer HRH, was safely delivered of a son, and she and her child are both doing well. So back to the tradition of putting out a framed bulletin or a gilded easel outside Buckingham Palace after royal births has been going on since 1837, so it's a cool tradition. And George, Charlotte, and Louis' easels listed the doctors' names with signatures, birth weight and time, and referenced the royal family. But Archie's notably only included mention of the Queen and the royal family in the wording, but not on the actual document, and then they omitted the signatures from the doctor's presence. Unlike previous notice,
their job wasn't to throw accusations around or make emotional judgments. It was much more clinical than that. They were said to be reconstructing every step tied to Archie and Lilibet's births, announcements, documents, and ceremonies, then comparing all of it to long-standing royal procedure. And as that timeline came together, more little inconsistencies reportedly started standing out, missing witnesses, unclear hospital confirmations, questions around medical personnel, delayed paperwork, different versions of events from Meghan, Harry, and their teams, ceremonies without easy-to-verify records, births taking place outside the usual royal process. Each issue by itself might not seem huge, but when all of them were placed side by side, it created something the monarchy couldn't just brush aside, because inside that institution, uncertainty is more dangerous than bad press. Public criticism fades, but doubt around legitimacy, that cuts straight to the core of what the monarchy stands on. As days passed and more pieces came together, one question started getting louder and harder to ignore. What does all of this actually mean for Meghan and Harry? Because behind the calm, curated lifestyle posts and carefully polished public image in Montecito, the reality could feel very different. This isn't just media noise or online chatter. A royal-level review hits differently. It carries weight, and both Meghan and Harry know that. For Meghan, the stakes feel extremely high. This isn't just about public perception, it's about her entire brand. Everything she's built since stepping away from royal duties connects back to one core image, being a modern duchess and the mother of royal children. That identity has powered everything.
And just went into labor when really Archie had been born for several hours at that point is a foolish game to play. And it only diminished credibility and trust, and it honestly made people kind of mad and irritated about the situation, because it's like, well, why would you do that? Why are you lying to people? Why are you trying to mislead?
And then the next holiday card we see, I believe it was the famous Lilibet's born and here's little Archie. And that little kid who's Archie doesn't look anything like the little kid we've seen in the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix that we saw. I don't know who that kid was in the picture, or even Lilibet doesn't look like the picture that they've shown of her. Those kids didn't.
The Documentaries, the high-profile interviews, major deals, lifestyle ventures, and the whole American Riviera orchard vision she's been shaping. It all leans on that royal connection even from a distance. But here's where things shift. If that royal link starts to feel uncertain or less clearly defined, it could change how everything is viewed. A Duchess title without strong ties to recognized royal lineage through her children. That could raise serious questions about the image she presents. And that's not small. It touches everything she's built. Now for Harry, the situation hits on a completely different level. This isn't about business deals or branding. This is personal. Deeply personal. Harry grew up inside a system where lineage meant everything. From the beginning, he was raised knowing his place in the royal structure and what that meant for the future. And naturally, that extended to his children. Even after stepping away, there was always an expectation that his kids would still hold a connection to that world, that they would always be part of something bigger, tied to history, tradition, and identity. But now, that idea could feel like it's slipping. There are reports suggesting Harry has tried reaching out to senior royal figures, frustrated, emotional, trying to understand what's happening behind the scenes, but the response, distance. Because once the monarchy moves into this kind of territory, things change fast. Emotion doesn't drive decisions anymore. Structure does.
Markle gave birth to Lily because this is what's called plausible deniability. They want to be able to say, hey, we never claimed that she was our daughter in that announcement. They're legally covering their backs. There's just too many unknowns. And then, of course, we have that the doctor that allegedly delivered Lily quit her practice 2 weeks after giving birth to Lily or delivering Lily. That sentence there is missing. That is a vital sentence that Meghan Markle chose not to put in an official statement because she knows she would get into a lot of legal trouble and she needed plausible deniability.
Made the whole thing seem more bizarre. Meghan later claimed in interviews across Netflix and Oprah that Archie was denied a prince title due to institutional decisions, possibly rooted in race. Buckingham Palace's position was that Archie wasn't entitled to a title under current royal protocols, which reserve prince status for grandchildren of the monarch, not great-grandchildren, except for heirs in the...
And right now, that process is moving forward, whether they like it or not, which brings everything to the biggest question of all. What happens next? Because once Buckingham Palace compiles a full internal file, the next phase isn't about gathering information anymore. It's about action. And historically, the Crown always leans toward protecting the institution first, not individuals. That's the rule. From here, there are 3 possible directions things could go, and every single one of them would reshape the future around Archie and Lilibet. Option 1, a quiet freeze. No dramatic announcement, no public removal, nothing loud. The palace could simply stop progressing anything related to the children's royal standing. Titles would technically remain, but without expansion, without updates, and without any real active role. No ceremonies, no formal appearances, no ongoing recognition, just a slow, almost invisible fade from the core structure. Option 2, quiet reclassification. This one would be even more subtle. No headlines, no official statements that grab attention. Just gradual changes behind the scenes, updates to records, adjustments in how the children are referenced, and a shift in how they are positioned within the broader royal framework. It wouldn't look dramatic from the outside, but internally, everything would be different. And that's where the tension really builds, because whatever direction is chosen, it won't just affect titles, it could reshape identity, legacy, and how the story moves forward from here. And then comes the final possibility, the one that doesn't make headlines right away, but changes everything behind the scenes. Without making a big announcement, the palace could slowly shift things in a way most people wouldn't even notice at first. The children could be quietly reclassified as private individuals. No drama, no press conference, no major statement, just subtle updates. Names gradually moved down, or even removed from official royal pages. References adjusted.
Or talking about her experiences on podcasts or things like that, or just posting a lot more pictures. It has drawn a lot of attention to the controversies surrounding her kids, her pregnancies, how the children came into the world, the whole thing. Everything she's done has only drawn more speculation and brought the controversies back up.
People wouldn't, for the rest of maybe Archie and Lily's life, they may deal with questions about this surrogacy. And the only people they have to blame are their own parents who have fueled these rumors.
Their position within the royal structure slowly faded out until, over time, it feels like they were never fully part of it to begin with. From the outside, it would look calm, almost invisible. But inside the system, that's a major shift. They would still be acknowledged as family, but not as active parts of the royal institution. No official duties, no formal recognition, no structured role within the monarchy's future. But then there's the third option. And this is the one people keep circling back to: formal removal. This is the rarest move, and easily the most serious. It's not emotional, it's not personal, it's procedural. If the internal review reaches a point where documentation doesn't clearly support established royal standards, whether that's protocol, records, or lineage clarity, the Crown has the authority to act, and when it acts, it does so cleanly. Titles could be removed, recognition adjusted, and everything tied to official royal standing could be reset. No heated statements, no public back and forth, just a decision made to protect the structure of the monarchy. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. The Crown protects itself always. Individuals come and go, public opinion rises and falls, but the institution stays locked in. That's how it's survived for generations, and that's why this situation feels so heavy. Because Meghan and Harry didn't just step away, they built an entire life and image connected to that royal energy. The deals, the interviews, the projects, the attention, it all links back to that identity. But here's the reality. The palace holds the authority, and it holds the final say. And if one decision is made at the highest level, it could shift everything people thought they understood about this story. So now it really comes down to this. What do you think happens next? Should everything be made public, or should the palace keep handling this quietly behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear what you think. And if you're following this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates as things continue to unfold. Make sure you check out the next video. On your screen right now, too. There's even more celebrity drama waiting for you there. Trust me, this story is far from over.